Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make good medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Hello, this is Good Medicine. I'm your host, Larry Pitts. Today we have with us Kathy Larson. She is the W.I.C Program Manager for Tribal Health and Human Services. Kathy, it's nice to have you aboard.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Is there anybody you'd like to say hello to in the world?
Well, I better just say hello to Whitney and Tyler, since my children probably won't be watching.
Well, it's actually Taylor. But
Taylor, I did it again.
You did it
sorry.
again. That's okay.
Okay.
Kathy, let's get going with the program now.
Okay.
So, what is the W.I.C program?
Okay. W.I.C stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and W.I.C is the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children. W.I.C has been around for about 20 years. Well, actually, in 1994, we celebrated our 20th anniversary here in Montana. And what W.I.C does is, it's a nutrition program. Our goal is to improve the nutritional status of our clientele, women, infants, and children.
Mm-hmm. Would you, how long have you been with this program, for how many years?
I've been here at this program for 11 and a half years. I also worked with the W.I.C program in northern Wisconsin for about a year, back in the early 70s.
Have you seen a huge improvement in the program? Has it been successful?
Well, overall, nationally, W.I.C is probably one of the most studied programs there is, and it is very successful. W.I.C has been proven to reduce the incidence of low birth weight infants among women who participate in the program. It's also improved the hemoglobins of children who receive the W.I.C foods and who have participated in the program. I think overall we're probably one of the most effective nutrition programs there's ever been.
Mm-hmm. So from the sounds of it, it's a program that's directed at making not only the mothers but the future children into healthier people?
Definitely.
Okay. So how does a person qualify for W.I.C?
Well, there's three different criteria that a person must meet. First of all, they have to be categorically eligible. They have to be either a pregnant woman, breastfeeding woman, or a woman who's recently had a baby, or they have to be an infant or a child under the age of 5. So those are the categorical eligibility criteria. They also have to be determined to have some type of nutritional risk. Sometimes those risks are a child might be heavier than the average, or they may have some health problems, but most frequently they're just not eating as well as they maybe could. The third criteria is the financial criteria, and W.I.C is funded, the criteria for eligibility is funded a little higher than some of the other programs. We're at 185% of the poverty level, which for a family of 4 would translate to about $28,000 per year. So a lot of people think that because they're working, they may not be eligible for W.I.C. However, most of our W.I.C families are working.
So a lot of people in this area, even though they have jobs, the children do qualify.
Definitely, especially families that have a single income or have a large family. Even if both parents may be working, they still may be able to qualify for W.I.C.
How would a person find out that they qualify? I mean, where would they go?
Well, they can give us a call. We also have our income guidelines posted at different places. I think we'll show those guidelines here during the program. But they can just give us a call at the Tribal Health Department, and the guidelines are the same across the state. Some people viewing may live in the Polson area. There is a program run by the Lake County program. Financial guidelines are the same for that program. So they could just give us a call at our program, or the Lake County program also.
Now, do those two programs, Lake County as well as the tribal health one, do they cross each other, or are they separate entities?
They're separate entities. However, we try to whatever works out best for the participant. Lake County goes as far south as Arlee, so many people from the Arlee area may find it difficult to get to Polson. That's why many of them come to our program. We have a clinic each month in Arlee, and Polson serves a lot of people from the Polson area and the Elmo area as well as Ronan. So it just depends on whatever best meets the needs of the family.
Well, it sounds like you're getting a real vast and broad coverage of people that might work out better for people.
Right.
With both programs.
And typically our program serves more of the Indian population. However, WIC is one of the programs that does not discriminate. We serve anybody who meets the eligibility criteria.
Okay. Can you tell me then, how does this truly differ from, like, say, food stamps or commodities? It sounds like you're doing almost the same thing.
Oh, okay. Well, WIC is a health program, first off. Our goal is to improve the nutritional status. And in order to do that, we first do an assessment. We check a child, for instance, if it's a child that's applying for the program, we'll do a growth check, also a blood test to determine if they have if they're at risk for anemia. We also take a look at what their normal dietary intake is to see if there's any problems in that area. And we also do a medical history, talking to their parent to see if there's any health problems that might have some bearing on their nutritional status.
So there is sort of an education behind how you develop this process with these children then.
Right. In addition to the education we do, another goal of our program is to refer clients to different other health or human service agencies that they might benefit from. One of our big goals in the past few years is to make sure that all of our children on WIC are immunized. While we don't give the immunizations, we do the referrals, so they get to their doctors or the public health nurses so that they're current on their immunizations.
So you sort of watchdog other programs basically as you go through. You look at the nutrition, but you also look at immunizations and other things that you're looking for?
Well, some parents have concerns about their children's speech or hearing, and we make referrals to those different clinics. Some parents have questions that are really best referred to a physician. We make a lot of referrals to our well child clinics and our tribal health clinics.
So you're sort of an offshot health education department.
We are. We really are.
That's neat. That's neat. What is a healthy diet for a child in this day and age? Through the WIC program, what is your consensus?
Well, children, a healthy diet for a child is very similar to what a healthy diet is for an adult. The food guide pyramid focuses on, firstly, the largest area of the food guide pyramid is the grains, and for a child that would be the same thing. A meal should consist of grains and vegetables and fruits, as well as smaller amounts of protein and dairy products. So for a child, we would use this pyramid as a guide in planning. Not all children will eat everything that we offer to them, but this is more used in meal planning rather than telling a child they need to eat this, 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 and this. That doesn't work so well with children.
Well, I don't know if you know, but last week we had on Patty Doran, our nutritionist for the tribe, and we went over the pyramid, and so she went over the 5-step process, and we did talk about the 6th step, which is bacon and butter, my favorite place.
Right.
Yes.
And for children, children are growing, and their energy needs by their size is a little bit greater than the adult. So a healthy diet for a child would include these groups, but not what we don't want to see is that other groups are excluded. And this sometimes happens where a child, it might not be real unhealthy foods that they're eating. For instance, some children, around 18 months of age, might still be consuming a lot of milk. By that age, they really should be eating more of a variety of foods. Other children that we see are sometimes more into juice. They'll fill up on juice, and so they'll consume more of one of the food categories than is probably needed. Not that it's an unhealthy food, but the balance just isn't there.
How do you find that balance? I mean, as a parent, you know, with a 9-year-old and a soon-to-be 3-year-old, how do we find the right balance for my kids?
Well, we use the pyramid as a guide, as I said, in planning our meals. Children do best when they sit down at the table and eat with their parents. We're their best teachers. And if we're eating a well-balanced, healthy diet, they'll probably do the same. They'll have their days where they don't want to eat this or that, but generally, overall, sitting down as a family is probably the most important thing we can do. And setting a good example ourselves.
Okay.
Children have high nutrient needs, and they don't always have a real large appetite, so they do need to eat 3 meals a day along with some healthy snacks in between.
So do you believe in the M word that we talked about last week, which is moderation?
Moderation, definitely. Yes. With children, it's a little more difficult in that we cannot really tell them how much or how little they should eat. They should follow their appetites. However, our job is to offer the variety that they need.
And is their variety different than an adult?
No, the food groups are the same. The amounts are a little bit smaller.
Which amounts? I mean, the total quantity or any?
Total quantity. For instance, for an adult, a serving of bread would be a slice of bread. For a child, age 1 to 3, a serving would probably be a half a slice. Same with vegetables. They may eat only a fourth of a cup rather than the half a cup that's an adult serving. But the foods are the same.
Okay. What about, you know, the old rule of thumb that, you know, you had to clean your plate completely, you know, clean. I hated peas, and so it took me 2 glasses of milk to get down.
To wash those peas
down. I don't even think I chewed them once. I swallowed them.
That's really difficult. And you know, Larry, I was brought up the same way, and that you had to eat everything on your plate. That is really something that we need to get away from. Our job is to provide a good, well-balanced meal, a meal that includes a starchy food such as bread or rice, a good quality protein food such as chicken or beans or meat, a fruit and a vegetable with each meal, and a serving of milk. That would be a good lunch for a child, lunch or supper. Whether or not they eat everything, we have no control of. Our responsibility is to offer the foods, to set a good example, to have the right foods available. But the child's responsibility is whether or not they'll eat those foods, whether or not they'll eat anything at all. We really can't dictate how much they need to eat or what they need to eat.
Now, meal patterns, which is the most important meal for a child? Is breakfast the most important, or? Breakfast
is very important, but child is active all day long. Every meal is important, but definitely breakfast they need to start off their day with a healthy breakfast, and that can be a bowl of cereal with fruit and some milk. It doesn't have to be something real that takes a lot of effort and preparation. Lunch also can be real simple. A sandwich and some vegetables and fruit and a serving of milk. You don't have to go, in fact, kids like things more simple.
I went to a restaurant the other day, and it happened to be a pizza place, and they made a special meal for my son, was the cold cuts and the cheese and the stuff they put on the pizzas, and he loved it.
Those are probably kind of high in fat, but your son is small yet, and he doesn't do that every day, so that's great. And a lot of kids want to be able to identify each item of food rather than have a.
So am I supposed to feel guilt now and go shame, Dad? No.
Not at all. In fact, it's interesting because this is National Nutrition Month, and our theme this month is that all foods can fit. There are no bad foods. You already mentioned moderation.
The M word. That's my new motto, is the M word.
Yeah.
So what, working in the fitness centers and as much travel as I do on the reservation, one of the things that really concerns me is when I see young people overweight.
Yes.
What can we do?
Well, I think, it's really difficult. We've become a fast food culture. We eat on the run. We don't do those family meals as often as we probably should. And the other problem is we're just not, especially adults, we're not as active as we should be. But we even see this in our children. And sometimes they really need a push. I know my daughter, she's not overweight, but sometimes she needs to be pushed to go outside and play. Let's go play catch, or let's go for a walk, let's ride our bikes. I think they need to have somebody sometimes go along with them and do things as a family. But the fats, while children under the age of 2 we're told don't limit their fat intake, we definitely need to start looking at that after the age of 2. And fast foods are fine occasionally, but not 2 meals a day.
How many meals a week would you say a fast food place is okay for?
Well, I would like to say limit fried foods to no more than 1 fried food each day.
Okay.
You know, and some days you're on the road and you may go a little over that. I know when we do traveling, sometimes the easiest thing is to stop at McDonald's or whatever. However, if I planned a little bit better, I could have fruit in the cooler. It's just
fruit instead of potato chips.
Exactly. Or do the fast food, but be sure your child orders the milk rather than the pop. Go with a plain hamburger rather than the cheeseburger with that special sauce and extra cheese and bacon and all of that kind of thing. And then limit it to probably not more than twice a week.
So just using some good common sense, doing a lot of planning ahead of time.
Planning is so important, and I have some moms on our program who do really well with that. And by planning ahead, we can conserve those food dollars. If you have a plan, when you go shopping, you can tend to buy the things that you're going to be needed rather than those impulse buys that oftentimes are much more expensive and not nearly as nutritious.
Well, I always know it's more dangerous in our household. They send me to the store before dinner because I pick up all the things that I see, you know, that makes me hungry.
Oh, we all do that occasionally, but as I said, all foods can fit. It's just not replacing the good healthy foods with those junk foods.
Okay. Well, Kathy, we're going to take a break right here. We're going to take a break for our Let's Ask Marjorie segment, and then we're going to come back, and so we'll be right back, and we'll see you after this session, please. Thank you. This is the Let's Ask Marjorie segment of our program. We're here with Marjorie Bear Don't Walk. And Marjorie, the question we have this week for you is a lot of people are concerned about you and how you're handling all the pressure that's been going on within tribal health. Would you like to tell us how you're doing?
Well, I'm doing quite well, Larry. I've had tremendous support. People are, constantly calling or dropping by and telling me that they support what I'm doing. And I think the process has given the Tribal Council a very good idea of where tribal health is and where we need to go. And I think they see a need for a healing process to start, and so do I. And I'm hoping that we start that soon.
All right.
And now I have a question for you.
No, we're going to turn the boats on me, huh?
There's been some change in the fitness center hours, and since you're a part of the fitness center, wouldn't you like to tell us about that?
Well, probably because I'm such a fit person,
Right,
I would imagine.
Mentally fit.
Right.
Also.
Well, as you would know, but people don't know, is we have lost a lot of our JPTA people who work for us because of the budget cuts. They've run out of money, and so right now we are sort of running a flex hour type of thing in our facilities. We are in the process of getting this corrected. It's going to happen within the next couple of weeks that we'll get back to our consistent hours. So we just ask people to stay with us and give us some time that it will be worked out and will be even for the better, we feel. So
Good.
all right. Thanks, Marjorie, and we'll see you next week, people. Hi, we're back with Good Medicine. We're here with Kathy Larson. And Kathy, we were just talking before we took our break there for Let's Ask Marjorie. We're talking about exercise, and how do you see exercise affecting people like in the W.I.C program with families who may have they may not have the money to go to a workout facility or the time even?
Well, I think exercise, we don't even need to call it exercise. We just need to be active, doing things outdoors with our children. One of my favorite activities at home, it's a real good stress reliever, is chopping wood or hauling kindling or even peeling rails. It's excellent exercise without really using any equipment at all. But I think doing things as a family, walking, hiking. We live in one of the most beautiful areas of the country. I really hate the thought of being indoors walking on a treadmill unless that's the only option I would have.
So did I just hear you say that you would peel rails free?
Oh, sure. Bring them down.
So can they
I'm real good with a draw knife.
So can we just have people call you at Tribal Health and you'll just do
Well,
this?
I would need to get my cut. We have a little fence to build too.
All right. So Kathy, because WIC is built around nutrition, what kind of nutritional problems do you see within our reservation and the area that you deal in?
Well, we do see a fair amount of overweight, and I think a lot of that stems from inactivity, and as I said earlier, from a high-fat diet. As a nation, we're getting fatter, which is really sad. I think we just have things too easy anymore. We drive everywhere. We have all kinds of mechanical help. I mean, I don't even have to knead my bread anymore. I can do it in the machine. So we really have to make an effort to be active. So the overweight is a big problem. Also, especially here, so many families have a history of diabetes, so we really have to establish good eating habits from a healthy age and good exercise habits. We have a fair amount of infants who are born low birth weight. In fact, I think we're a little above the national average for that, and I don't know what the answer is there. Of course, during pregnancy, that's a real special time as far as taking care of yourself. And at WIC, we not only counsel good nutrition, but also regular prenatal care, avoiding harmful substances such as tobacco and alcohol. Many of I have to say that rarely, our women know this, and by the time they come into the WIC program, they've quit smoking or cut way back. They haven't had a drink since they learned they were pregnant. Many of them are afraid, however, to gain weight. They've started off the pregnancy overweight, so they don't want to gain too much. This is definitely not the time for dieting. So we have some problems. A lot of them stemming from overnutrition, or really probably from more inactivity.
Do you think any of that goes back to misinformation, maybe?
Possibly. A woman, I know myself, my second pregnancy, I started off a little higher than I did with my first, and I was determined not to gain too much weight. It's real difficult, and it's not just misinformation, because I knew what was important, but a lot of times we don't know we don't do what we know we should do.
Is there a guilt factor in that then?
Probably.
So it sounds like we're spinning back into Gita and Kim now, back into in mental health. And I mean, the world throws so many things at us, and everybody's an expert, I guess.
That's right. And every situation is different, and we all have the different things that we're coping with in our lives.
What about babies who are bottle fed?
Well, the WIC program, our premise is that every baby should be breastfed, or at least breastfed in the early days, and that offers so many benefits both to the mother and to the infant. However, not all of our moms choose to breastfeed for that whole first year, or they only want to breastfeed partially, and so it gets real easy to begin bottle feeding. But bottle feeding is just like breastfeeding in that the baby needs the comfort. They need to be held by their mother. Bottles should never be propped. A baby shouldn't be sent to bed with a bottle. If a woman chooses not to breastfeed, a lot of times there's good reasons for that. But we have a fair incidence of baby bottle tooth decay. And some children stay on the bottle too long, others get liquids that should never be put in a bottle, such as juice or Kool-Aid or pop. Some babies are put to bed with their bottles. So these all contribute to the problem.
Okay, so now let's switch to the other end of the spectrum. Let's go to the adults. On the reservation, there is overweightness in our adults. How can we attack that?
Oh, it's difficult. And we all face it. Occasionally you'll see a person who comes in needing to gain weight, and they don't get a lot of sympathy because so many of us are on the other end of the spectrum. But we need to stress good eating habits, not so much dieting or dieting programs, but starting off eating a good healthy diet, focusing on eating the right things, not so much staying away from things. And also we need to build activity into our lives. We don't have to exercise 45 minutes at a stretch in order to meet our exercise goals. 10 minutes 3 times a day for a lot of us is just as beneficial and a lot more doable.
You're right.
A lot of us set standards that are just too high, and we don't continue with those, and then end up feeling even more guilty than when we started out. So it's real important to take small steps. For myself, my goal in the past month was to begin my walking again. I had injured my foot, and I hadn't done a lot of exercise over the winter. So starting off with something that you can do rather than, oh, I can't have this, or I can't have any more sweets, or this and that. I think it's better to start with doing something positive.
Right. Realistic goals. So Kathy, we're down to just a couple minutes here now. So would you like to just go over anything that you just want to sort of go over again on the W.I.C program?
Okay. Well, the W.I.C program, again, is the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. We went over our income guidelines already and the eligibility criteria, but we would really like to encourage anyone who feels that they may be eligible or has a friend or a family member that might be eligible to give us a call. We'll talk to you over the phone. Myself, my staff, Shar Hunter and Arliss Branson, can go through the steps with you, what you would need to do to apply for the W.I.C program. I don't think I mentioned that we do serve several communities of the reservation. We're in Hot Springs, Elmo, and Arlee once a month. We're also in Ronan and St. Ignatius several times a month, but they can contact us at the 800 number for any of those appointment sites, or stop by the Tribal Health Department.
All right. Well, Kathy, we're just about out of time here. I just want to thank you for coming on our program today, and you've been a pleasure. You've given us a wealth of information. For those of you out watching this program, you can call Tribal Health at 1-800-823-8228, or you can call 745-3525. Ask for Kathy Larson in the W.I.C program. We want to thank you for watching us this week. We'll see you next week, and thank you.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care, and we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at